A lot of people are scared of working with actors or don't know how to work with actors. I personally am pretty hands-off when it comes to working with actors. I let the actors do what they want to do. They're not puppets. You hired them for a reason. You did a casting for a reason. You know that they can do what you need them to do. I rather guide them more than anything. So if they're off base, if they deliver a line or they deliver an emotion that's not quite what you had in mind or what you wanted, I tell them, no, it's got to be more like this. This is more intentional, or it's more sad, or whatever direction you need to kind of point the actor if they're off base. But the most important thing when it comes to acting is that they're as natural as possible. That's what at least I look for. As long as they're natural and believable, that's what I really, really want. I want it to feel like people are they're just wondering, like, how did they get this performance out of this person? It just feels like they're not even acting at all. And that's what you ultimately want. If you're guiding them too much or giving them too much heavy hand, you can feel the acting and it just doesn't work the same. It doesn't translate the same. Okay, so one big tip I can give you is to film your most important scenes in the middle of your film. Don't start it out, because your actors need to build chemistry. They need to build chemistry with you, and they need to build chemistry with the rest of the cast and crew. But once they've built that chemistry, they're probably ready for some of those more major scenes. But if you wait to those scenes till the very end, everyone's tired, you're running out of time, you might have to rush, everything like that. That's not the ideal time to film it. I had a scene that we shot, and we shot it in the middle. And then later on, I went back, looked at it, and thought, no, we need to redo that scene. It was a very important scene. It had to be done right. And luckily, I gave myself enough time to go back and reshoot that scene so that it was correct. And I did that by scheduling that scene to take place and film more in the middle of our filming schedule, not at the very end, not at the very last day, the most important scene. You don't want to do it that way. Okay, film it more towards the middle. You have to pick your cinematography well in advance. Is it going to be handheld? Is it going to be, very still? I find still to be boring. I find handheld to be a little bit more engaging and easiest to work with. But it could be a combination of different things. But you have to pick out your cinematography in advance. It's very important. When doing handheld, you got to keep in mind that framing still matters very much. Just because it's handheld doesn't mean it's bad, but as long as you frame it well, then it'll look good. You also have to ask yourself, how many cameras are you going to have? If it's just one camera, is it two cameras? Is it two camera shoot? You have several cameras at once. A lot of times with these really low micro budget films, you're only going to have one camera. You're going to have to shoot that same scene several times from different angles. So ask yourself, what type of equipment and budget do you have available to you? But that is very important when it comes to cinematography. The very last tip I can tell you about cinematography is perfection is killer, okay? It's very easy to just really want this one particular shot, and you want this shot to come out the way you want it to. But the truth is, you have a lot of film to take care of. Not every shot can be an amazing painting, okay? Not on a shoestring budget. You're going to have to sometimes settle for maybe some shots not being ideal. So after enough takes, you got to switch over and get your other angles and your other takes and get the rest of the content you need. It's important to get your pickup shots, to get your establishing shots, to get your close-ups. It's important to get all of the shots that you really need rather than overtake too much time focusing on getting that one really good shot that you really want in the film. Audio is hands down the worst part of my film. It was like my Achilles heel. I had a friend come through and help me with the audio, but he was using my equipment and, he had never done audio before. He just basically held the boom most of the time. And, I knew it was going to be a problem, but it turned out to be a much bigger problem than I wanted. So on my next feature, I'm definitely hiring a full-time audio person. Money has to be spent here. Do not neglect audio. It's the biggest mistake I probably made on my feature film. There's so much time and work went into just fixing the audio to the level that I have it at now in the final cut of my film. So, I can't stress enough how important audio is. when doing audio, just make sure you focus on the dialogue. You can always do AR, but it's always best to get as much on the dialogue as possible. You can put in the background noises and sound effects later. Try to pick up some atmosphere and try to pick up any sound that's really hard to mimic or get later, because obviously you can't really pay a lot of sound mix people to go out and get all the different audio samples and what have you that you need. So, get it as much as you can on location, but audio is one of those things where I can't stress enough. Hire somebody to come through and do your audio for you. I don't really look at dailies personally, but I do look at them when there's really important scenes. If you look at dailies every day, you'll beat yourself up on every scene that's not perfect. And so I find it to be actually, works against you. It'll work against your confidence. It'll make you want to go back through and reshoot different scenes and everything. You don't have those luxuries on a micro budget. But if you have a really important scene, I do strongly suggest looking over those dailies and making sure that particular scene came out the way it was supposed to. Although the entire film is very important, we all know there's certain scenes where they can make or break a film. And there were certain scenes in my film where if they didn't look right, they were definitely going to be a problem down the line. So I looked them over. I didn't like them. We were running out of light on one of them. And then another one, the acting didn't match up with the effects that I was going to have to put into the film. And ultimately, I had to reshoot that same scene 3 times before we finally got it right the 3rd time. So it's also important to make room in your schedule so that you can go back and fix certain scenes if necessary. So if you're ahead of schedule by, any possibility, then yeah, that's great. Utilize that time to the best of your ability to fix any scenes that may not have been as good as they could have been. Dailies can be beneficial, but don't watch them on everything or you might start beating yourself up before you even finish your project.